This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone and open up the October 3rd, 2022 regular council meeting to order. I'll call it to order at 7 p.m. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, any additions or corrections to the agenda? Okay, anyone like to make a motion to accept the agenda for this evening?
I'll move to accept the agenda as written.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Counselor Ash seconded. You want me to do the roll or do you want to do it?
I can do it.
Okay.
Counselor Webb,
Aye.
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Counselor Ash,
Aye.
Counselor Allen.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Presentations.
Hold on one second.
Corey on.
That's Johanna. Are you here, Johanna, are you here for the Vernonia Equality Racial Justice Group?
That is.
Yes.
Okay, then they are ready for you to speak.
Well, hi, everyone. My name's Johanna Costa. I work at Oregon Department of Justice in the Civil Rights Unit. And I was asked by Jan Cockrell to come today to share with you a little bit about Oregon's statewide bias response program, which opened in January 2020 and serves as a point of support for folks who are targeted in either a hate crime or a bias incident. And this was a piece of legislation that changed Oregon's hate crime laws. Oregon was actually the first state in the nation to pass hate crime laws in the 80s, and really had not made many changes to those laws in about 35 years. And so in 2019, Oregon's laws changed and created, first and foremost, a victim-centered support hotline for folks who have experienced targeting based on their protected class. Oregon has 7 protected classes under this law. Those protected classes are race, color, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, and national origin. We collect information based on what folks are reporting to us. So it could be a bias incident, which is a non-criminal offense. It's typically hate speech, slurs, waving offensive symbols or flags, making it very clear to folks that they don't belong, that they are other, that they are unwelcome. That can look like, as I said, hate speech, words like "go back to your country," or slurs, targeting someone based on things that they can't change about themselves, their race,
Okay.
their color.
So can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
So Jan is here. And so we had the reporting requirement when we did the equality resolution that we've been keeping track. This is a statewide reporting that we can kind of piggyback on instead of duplicating, start reporting the incidences that the Vernonia Police Department gets to this reporting system. This 15-minute presentation is too short of a time for them to really present about the reporting system. Jan was going to just give a little update on that. This is what Verge is kind of working on. And then if you guys were interested, Johanna could come and do the long presentation to show you how we would put our information into the system. So I didn't want Johanna to keep going because really their presentation is the longer one if that's something that would interest the city council of how we're going to keep that kind of requirement that our resolution states.
So Joanna, was this the result, you mentioned a law change in what, 2019?
That's correct.
Okay, and is this a result of what you're trying to do moving forward with that new law?
So the statewide reporting system is one of 17 changes to the law. There are many communities that have decided to create their own individualized response programs. We do have folks positioned regionally around the state, but of course we have many communities and we're not in every single one. And so there are a lot of community action groups that are getting together to say, you know what, if something happens in our community, we want folks to have a safe place to turn. It can be reported to the hotline, but we always appreciate having localized support where we can refer folks for close by local advocacy. And I apologize about my dog.
Thank you. I have a little bit better understanding. I had no idea what tonight's meeting was about in your presentation, so that helped me a little bit understand it more.
So I might introduce Jan now. That's okay. They're right on 7. So do you want to explain who you introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Jan. I think we've all met. So, yeah, I am part of the Verge group. And as Joseph had said, you know, you guys had wanted us to really put together some kind of data gathering system, and it wasn't possible to do it appropriately, confidentially. And then in the meantime, this database was set up. And so I contacted the ODOJ, and Johanna has been really helpful and said that she's really willing to come and meet with city council, meet with the community, and help us take advantage of the really good database that's already there. We can look up Columbia County. I can just go into the database and look up Columbia County. That doesn't tell me anything about Vernonia. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I'd like to, and Johanna, you know, she does, I told her she only had 15 minutes tonight. So she's very willing to come back. She's willing to come in person, and she's willing to meet with the community. So we just wanted you guys to know that those are options and what it would like.
Because we hadn't really heard from the group aside from that we've taken, I believe, 2 incidences through the police department in the last year that we know that someone's reported. But this might be a better way to network with something that's already going on in the state and not recreate the wheel, so to speak.
Now, would this be something that would expound on the work we did last year with our own committees and the resolution we put in place last year?
Because part of that has a reporting requirement that we wanted. Basically, we wanted to know what was happening in the community and have people have safe places to report incidences. This would just make us part of a bigger, we could just input our data right to the system instead of having it our own and then one statewide. So if you're, go ahead.
And this presentation came directly from people in the Verge group talking about how are we going to meet those requirements of some kind of a reporting system. You guys have been asking about it a little bit. Are we making, you know, it kind of came up because anything happened and that Verge group started talking about it, and Jan reached out to Department of Justice and spoke with Joanna. I don't want to say too much, Jan, but just this was a direct result of us realizing that we were supposed to be getting back to that and trying to come up with some things and working on that. So our Verge was supposed to be working on
Any questions or comments or
Yeah, the way I remember, that's about 2 years ago, if I remember correct.
Probably.
Yes.
maybe, yeah.
Seemed like the police department was going to do a quarterly report. I've said that before and people said they couldn't remember if it was supposed to be yearly or quarterly. But I recollect it was going to be a quarterly report, but it seems like there's only been 2 incidences in almost 2 years. Is that correct?
Well, there was the one incident that I did share with you guys about that happened with the Blue Mountain crew, the contracted crew that had an incident with the homeowner. And they ended up going back and there was an altercation and he had a broken nose with slurs about his sexual preference. And then I know of only 2 that the police department's gotten in this calendar year. So.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that there have been several incidents that were not violent, but were inappropriate and haven't been reported.
Yeah.
This is why I think it's important for us to know about this database so that individuals who experience an incident can report it. It's anonymous and confidential. And that way we can get a better idea of what's going on and then know how to respond appropriately, right?
Well, that was, yeah, one of the concerns is if it's just our police department, there might be some hesitancy from
Sure.
citizens. So hopefully this system set up so they can more directly report or, so, yeah, I'd like to hear her full presentation in the future here myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Open to it?
So I have a question. If something happens up at the school, those are minors and kids say a lot of stupid things. So are we including that kind of stuff if the police are called or are the police even called?
Well, so you mean if like a student says a racial slur?
Or anything, any of the list that we just said here?
Yeah, so the school would have to report that to the city or put it into this database. But I know as a parent, if my kid came home and someone was repetitively saying that and I had the outlet of this database, I might report it that my minor child experienced this. I might report it just so that it's a documented thing.
Well, that's where I think the school resource officer would be boots on the ground. Another reason to have a school resource officer up there and hopefully, is it Mr. Hellman?
Yes, he's interested.
Receptive to starting that again.
Yeah.
So, and remember too, the whole goal behind this was to have a metric to measure against, because if I remember right, as our whole group was, start to have some more communications within the community, some community functions to, talk about these subjects. And so we'd have the database that we can measure over time. Are we being successful or not? I mean,
Right.
otherwise, sounds
It helps-
good, but
It helps you direct your efforts to make the most, the change, right? If racial slurs aren't our problem, but everything we're outreaching is about that, then we're kind of missing the mark.
Right.
Did you have something to say, Johanna? Yes, thank you so much. I was just going to add that, there's a balance when we're talking about schools, and it is about intentional acts and knowing acts. And a lot of times some of this language, particularly from young folks, comes from ignorance, or it comes from repeating, what someone has heard. The law that created the hotline mandates confidentiality, not just for the reporter or the victim, but also for the perpetrator. And that's particularly important in terms of juvenile cases where if it is a slur, we're here to talk to the victim or the parent about what options may be available next. In a school setting, we're talking about a civil rights violation. It may not be a crime to call someone a slur in that setting, but it is a civil rights violation. And so we can provide those resources to a parent without, potentially ruining a child's life. Or sometimes that's a concern that folks have is, this is a a young person, a 12-year-old, it's not a crime. Are we documenting it so that they, can't go on and do things in their life? So I just wanted to flag that for council members to be aware of.
A question for Johanna. Johanna, is it Johanna?
Hannah with an H.
Johanna.
Johanna.
The question I'd have is if there's teachers or administrators that know what's going on and continue to let it go on, isn't that a crime?
It is not. That's a great question, but it is a civil rights violation, and potentially it is investigatable but federally by the U.S. Attorney's Office for federal civil rights violations, interfering with an individual's federal right to go to school free from discrimination. Same with housing. If a landlord permits a tenant to perpetrate that kind of those slurs or that language or conduct, yes, the neighbor shouldn't be doing it, and the landlord has a responsibility to make it stop. So same with the school setting. The teacher or the principal or the SRO or whomever has a responsibility to do everything that they can to ensure that the targeted person is getting their education free from discrimination. But it is not a criminal.
Thank you for clarifying that.
So would you guys like us to schedule with Johanna at a future council meeting for her to do or probably it'd be easiest in a work session. That way we're not doing all the other kind of task items. But is there consensus of council to set that up? Okay.
Would it be possible to invite the community, or should we have a separate meeting?
Oh, no, it'll be a public meeting. So anyone that wants to come and hear the presentation would be invited. Does that work for you, Johanna? I'll just have Stephanie network. We'll share information and get you on the schedule.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Thank you for being a part of our meeting tonight, Johanna.
Thank you so much for having me, council members.
You're welcome. Okay, mayor's report. Last week, I had the honor and of hosting and being a part of a field trip from the third grade class in Vernonia Elementary School. And they took a field trip to City Hall here in not only our council where we meet as a council and myself as mayor, but our city court, and Josette was here and kind of headlined it and made it happen for the teachers up there. But I was here in this seat, and there was actually two classes of the third grade. And so it was really, as it went, I opened it up and I led the Pledge of Allegiance like we do here in our council meetings. And so that was pretty cool. And then they asked me a bunch of questions, what I do and why I do them, and do you get paid? And it was really refreshing because at least 8 kids, we ask them what they like about Vernonia, and they go, oh, I just love living here. And these are 9-year-olds, and how clean the streets are. And it was so refreshing to hear that from our youth that, I don't know, it gave me an inspiration. And then the county clerks met with them, and they picked one 9-year-old, and they explained what the judge's robe signifies, and she put it on and sat here in this chair, and they gave her
Mock trial.
a mock trial on a DUI or something.
Yeah. Linda had run a stop sign.
So it was really refreshing and neat to see our youth with such a positive attitude. And then they went over to the police department and had a tour with Sergeant, and it was a good day. So just wanted to share that with the city. So there's hope for our youth.
They were louder than the audience with the Pledge of Allegiance, I have to say. They were very enthusiastic about that because they knew it. So they were excited to get to perform.
Are there any council or committee reports tonight?
I attended the Parks Committee. Most of what was discussed of note is going to be coming up in new business. So we do have 2 applications to review that are being recommended. And they're also requesting some additional dog waste stations due to some issues that have been cropping up.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Public Works?
Public Works Council.
Okay. Cemetery?
They canceled last time, so waiting for the next one.
I didn't have any committee reports from the seniors or library, so this time, so. Any topics from the floor tonight?
I don't have any.
Okay. Consent agenda for acceptance, Parks Committee meeting minutes for August 2022. Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, I read that. They were talking about rusty doors that don't work. Is that something that's in the works or?
It isn't. The doors work, they're just not pretty. And it's the exterior doors of the Anderson Park bathrooms. And those are going to be a pretty penny. So we're pricing those out to ask, put in the next budget. They work fine. The hinges are rusty after so much weather. So, and it's kind of inset into that CMU block. So they're not just the easy, cheap door to replace. So we talked to Parks because they already had on their list what they wanted to do with this year's money or the asks for money that was available this year. And so we're going to put it on the next fiscal budget to replace those.
Speaking of money, it seems like it keeps coming up in the notes. They're having a hard time getting budget information. Does that get ironed out?
Yeah, there's just some confusion between what Kim was requesting and what Angie heard. What Kim was requesting was the typical one Angie usually gives them. And so that Angie's got that set up to just get to them every time. This time they got a little weird one because it was last year as of this date and this year as of this date. And what Kim really wants is a budget versus actual with the percentage of the year gone by, which was Angie's standard one, but she got confused when Kim started talking about last year. And she's like, what? And so she did a whole different one that wasn't what they wanted, but
It's just
get it.
like phases of lost in translation. So one, I think it was put in as UTD instead of YTD. So it was an up-to-date budget instead of year-to-date budget. And then this month was against last year instead of what they wanted is actually the current budget cycle by percent. So whatever percent of the cycle we are through, they want to know what should the budget be at for that percent and what is it actually at to kind of.
So like it was 25%'s gone by.
How it's tracking it.
Yeah, nothing should be over 25% spent or 25% in.
Angie's trying. She is producing a different version each month. It just hasn't hit what's being requested.
Sounds like,
But I think we're getting there.
Yeah.
I think bottom line, they want to know if they got any money to spend, right?
Well, and how it's tracking coming in and going out, I mean, that's,
Be part of that committee when you don't know what you got, what you can work with, right? So.
yeah, and they did present us a list. I mean, we're going off their kind of wish list as their fund can afford it. We're purchasing those things. So, yeah, but we're hopefully going to have it right next month.
That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on that?
I'll move to accept the consent agenda for acceptance.
The Parks Committee meeting minutes.
Yep.
I'll second that.
And seconds been made. Would you call the roll, please?
Sure. Counselor Allen?
Aye.
Counselor Ash?
Aye.
Mayor Hobart?
Aye.
Counselor Webb?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, consent agenda for approval, city council meeting minutes for September 6, 2022.
I see the correction in there, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Okay.
Okay.
It's just a simple line about they can request info if they want.
Any corrections to either set of minutes?
Would like to make a motion to accept the September 6th meeting minutes.
Can I move to accept both the September 6th and September 19th meeting minutes?
Yes.
Yep,
I do.
I'll second.
second's been made. Would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Counselor Webb.
Aye.
Counselor Allen.
Aye.
Counselor Ash.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, unfinished business. Staff report, alley improvement work session, be found on page 10.
I did not understand if the calendar was saying X, don't choose this day, or this is the day that works.
X, don't choose this.
Next, don't choose this day.
Got it. I was like, they're either selected or marked out. One of them. Okay.
So
Um,
what days work for the collective of you all?
I'll just start by saying I have a conflict of interest potentially because I live on the alley, at one of the alleys, but I just don't know why we really need a work session on this. I mean, it's a simple, either we repair the alleys or we don't.
I don't know how many alleys we have. What is the scope of the work that needs to be done? Things like that. So I personally feel like background info would help me in making a decision.
So the reason we were thinking a work session is partly because of Counselor Ash's not knowing actually how many. And then staff's idea was presenting ones that were improved, were unimproved, were improved at a certain point, and now we rely on the neighbors to weed whack them, but there is some rock there or it's just all grass. Currently, the policy of the city, because councils in the past have not directed us, we do not do improvements to alleyways. That's currently what the MO we're running under, partly because our streets fund has no money in it for it. And there are certain alleys where they exist, but they've never been driven on, but they're a platted alley. When the old timers platted Vernonia, they just laid it over in lot and block, right of ways and alleys. And they just exist everywhere. So we were hoping for a work session to come to more what council wants to do from this point going forward. Are you interested as a council? I mean, there's discussion to be had. Are you interested as a council in bringing back up the ones that had at one point been paved, chip sealed or improved? Are you interested in not doing any of them, doing some of them? We don't know really where council's at. So work session just gives you more kind of time where we can have a discussion rather than it being a point that you have to make a decision on without background.
I'd like to have a work session. I'd like to see how many alleys and what degree they need. Like I drive by yours twice a day and I see the water coming down and it's, there shouldn't be any water coming down.
There's a water leak up there.
Yeah, I know. So, then we could categorize
Yeah,
what we,
that's fine. I think we need to understand it. Historically, they designed some of those neighborhoods like mine where all the garages and sheds were in the back. They didn't want people parking on the main street. So the alleys went to all those little garages. So that's just the way it was designed, not saying everywhere, obviously.
But there's a lot of the letter streets on the flat ground, those also have the sheds, or at one point had the garage or shed behind and someone since torn it down and put up a good neighbor fence and they don't access the back anymore at all. So it's kind of a hit or miss depending on where you're at in town.
Yeah.
And we're going to need staff's input on our grant funding, if it's going to cover any of this. If not, how
Right.
our amount that we accumulate under street funds, how we would tackle that over time. So
Yeah.
we need the big picture of.
We wanted to kind of present all the options because one of the options that they discussed a while back, and it was when Matt was still here as the planner, was local improvement districts. So the city having skin in the game to get the work done at a reasonable cost and having everyone that accesses off there chip in, and then we go and do the ones where we have people that want to access the back of the property. On some of the flats, it's grassland. No one ever drives back there. I mean, it's still, we have to make sure they don't put structures or things there because the fire department still has to get back there if they had to, but you know what I'm saying? Kind of it's hit or miss on whether people want their alley improved. They might not want anyone driving behind, so they'd be a nay, you know, so it's like a weird mishmash.
Right, I think my point was, when ruts are a foot and 18 inches deep and the homeowner has to get out there and with pressure washers and try to cut humps off to get their vehicles down. When the cop cars are dragging, you're picking up parts out there in the alley from cars for 15, 20 years. Either it needs to be black and white where the homeowner can go grab a Traco if they want and do what they want with it instead of waiting for the city or waiting for the city. And the city doesn't want to do anything. I'm just looking for something black and white. Like, okay, if you want to do it.
Yeah, with infrastructure, I'm probably gonna always as staff say, we don't want the homeowner out there with the Traco.
Right.
Well,
But that's just,
this is something we could address in the work.
that's kind of why we wanted to have a work session where we could, you guys could bring to us, you know, ahead of time what you're interested in. We know we can give you the data, all of it.
So we're looking at, you know, there's 3 weeks between our next meeting on the 17th to the 7th of November. So, you know, maybe pick a night that doesn't have an X in it that's, you know, easy for everyone to, you know, we don't want to come right after a council meeting or, you know what I mean? So
How about the 12th?
October? Yeah, that works for me.
that's okay with me.
Is that be enough time with Stephanie being gone?
Yeah, because Ben will be the one that gives me the data sheets for your alley totals,
For you,
Yeah.
types.
get it?
6:30 work
Yeah,
for everyone?
Just keep in mind, we do have a special meeting on the 10th, if anyone can.
that's right.
2 nights different.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Shouldn't, I mean, it shouldn't be that long. We just had the priority thing, so. The 10th doesn't have to be long drawn out. We just went over all the,
Just an executive session.
my quarterly.
Yeah, quarterly.
The X's are a no-go?
Yeah, because there's either a meeting there or one of you wasn't available or one of us wasn't available.
Okay, well, I'm good with the 12th.
Okay, 6:30. Well,
Both it is. Okay, very good. New business, Parks Committee recommendation. Found on 11 through 14 of the 2 applicants. Reminding everyone that there's only 5 on the Park Committee and they welcome new members.
Impressed with Spencer Kroll's application here.
So I think the Parks Committee is excited about Spencer because they wanted to bring back that connection with the watershed. She is on the watershed council board. And then he is out of city limits, but the other applicant is within city limits, so that works out well too.
I'm impressed with both of them, actually. Mr. Hart's willingness to be a part of the community. Oh, any questions? Any of the applicants here tonight are on?
I have a caller too. Are you in Parks Committee applicant caller too? Apparently not.
Maybe it's Donnie.
Maybe. They have not named themselves, so it could be anyone.
Silent.
I'd chime in. It's Donald.
Oh, hi, Donald.
Good man. You want to be on the parks, Donald?
No,
That was a good guess.
He said no.
Well, he can't. Sounds good.
Okay, getting back to the Parks Committee applicants.
I'm good with it.
We have a general consensus.
No issues. Yep. Look
Yeah,
good.
I think they're.
Okay, we have a general consensus from the Vernonia City Council for me to appoint Spencer Kroll and William Hart to the Parks Committee. And so I will do so and appoint both these gentlemen. It's my honor. And so welcome.
Tag, you're it.
Okay. New business B, Park Committee recommendation, dog waste stations. Page 15.
Sounds good to me.
And these, they wanted the larger, I guess, situation of the dog waste station, right?
Yeah, so we currently have the little boxes that hold the bags, but they're actually wanting similar to the dog park where it says clean up after your pet and kind of has a garbage receptacle there and the bigger bag dispersal, kind of to notice if you're bringing a dog in Spencer Park, you need to be making sure you're picking up after it. And the same at Anderson. We aren't having so much problem at Anderson kind of on top, but it's down by the confluence and kind of people that are going in other areas of Anderson Park that we just want to remind them, take a bag with you.
Yeah.
How much are those?
They run about, well, depends on if I can get a deal, but the one for the dog park I think was almost $375, almost $400.
Are they anchored in somehow?
Yeah, it's on a post. The post comes and it has a receptacle. It has the bag housing, and then it has signage that you get with it. Anything dog related is just hyper expensive.
Tell me about it.
And Tim's gonna get the honor of emptying those?
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't tell you how many places I've been where they'll have a poo bag
Better than scooping it up.
and people will pick up their dog. Then they come back to the poo bag station where the parking lot is and there's no trash and they drop the poo bag right on the ground.
and these have like a insert, so he can just grab the insert and dump the whole thing. He's not gonna, doesn't have its own bag. It's just,
A one by one.
Sounds good to me.
Anyone like to make a motion to,
I'll move that we approve the Parks Committee's request for 3 additional poo stations.
so moved? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And second's been made by Counselor Webb. Call the roll.
I'm trying to, okay, hold on. I'm doing duplicate jobs here.
I know.
All right, Counselor Allen?
Aye.
Counselor Webb?
Aye.
Mayor Hobart?
Aye.
Counselor Ash?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Did that without looking too.
It's like she knows.
It's like I know who you are. All right.
New business C, relocation request, Fish Hawk Cyclery. Everyone get a chance to read in the packet?
Oh, yeah.
I did read Jeff's. I think I got the gist of it. It's just
Yeah.
not quite the perfect location.
If I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also wanted to volunteer, if you have any additional questions or clarifications, not just regarding fish hawk recycling, but my observations on the lake, I'm more than happy to provide the insight provided from the time spent there.
My only question was if you go down here where you're proposing, where do you get the power?
That is the question. Josette said that she was going to look into what it would take to get power there. I've also approached the American Legion about perhaps, while it would be unacceptable for a commercial business to lease a site at the nonprofit American Legion, that perhaps an arrangement could be made for a power tether to help with their electric bill. But I wanted, the primary reason for this presentation now was before any additional considerations were made at the lake on my behalf. Rather than get it all started at the lake and the lake now it's changed our minds, I thought I would at least bring it up now.
I appreciate that, Jeff, and I'd probably be a little hesitant to put infrastructure if you move to another location, to make sure it's going to be viable first. So
That's understandable.
might be a generator situation, might be a borrow power from somebody, but
So if we did it, it would, because that is floodplain, it'd be similar to how we do it for Hickory, where they drop a service on the existing pole right there. So it'd be up out of the floodplain. And so they're working up a quote of what that would be. And then it's just going to be, can Jeff stomach the cost to put one there?
How has your demand been for your 110 at the lake? Been pretty good? It's been working for you?
Oh, yeah.
Just the 110?
Yeah, more than adequate.
Yeah, good. Well, I think actually, I personally think it's a better location for you and for the people that rent bicycles, because it's right in the middle of the CZ and Banks Linear Trail, and they meet right there. And it's just a good location for people that come in and park there and want to rent a bike and go either way. And
it's hard when Google Maps is leading people off different spots.
Yes, there is some signage map and link confusion in regards to Lake Vernonia. On the sign maps, the Banks Vernonia completes the loop around, the Banks Vernonia completes the loop around the lake. On the signage from Anderson Park to the lake, it's clearly labeled the Crown Z. And a lot of cyclists are avoiding the Crown Z because it is a mixed surface and challenging trail. Not so much casual riding, particularly the entrance. So again, no any one aspect is a deal breaker. In combination, there are a number of obstructions. Now, I'm not sure whether or not the sign is incorrect or whether I haven't been able to quite pin down who's responsible for what part of the trail in its simplicity. But even there's a QR code for the Banks Vernonia Trail on the signage. And if you scan that, Vernonia Lake's not even on highway. So with the sign that's on Vernonia Lake. So there is some confusion, particularly for out of towners.
So legally, the Banks Vernonia Trail ends at Adams Avenue. That is as far as the Oregon State Department of Parks property ends. So that is, even though when they got fancy with their signs, Banks put a sign at Vernonia Lake, it really ends right there at Adams. And so that is the true start of the CZ trail. But like Jeff said, they put the sign at Vernonia Lake to try and entice people. That was before the CZ trail was a thing, right? It was just kind of a twinkle in someone's eye. And so, yeah, the pushback, they do overlap there in most of their advertisement.
And then to confuse it more, the city of Vernonia owns
All of that section from Adams.
from Anderson Park to the lake.
Yeah.
So and then when CZ Trail joined with the Banks Linear Trail and the CZ group put up their signs, it probably got a little confusing.
Yeah.
So
the majority of cyclists that I've been talked to both in town and at lake all presume it ends at Anderson Park, for the most part. The difficulty is the CZ is a far more challenging trail, inappropriate for my rentals. Also, the majority of the bikes that are on the Banks Vernonia, either they're going to go specifically to the Crown Z or the Banks Vernonia. It's two different riding styles. So there's another interruption in traffic there. One of the advantages to the Anderson Park location is the sending people to the lake is an ideal short, quick trip, test ride, get your bearings, figure out your bike, grab an ice cream. And then, or I can send them the other direction towards as I said in my presentation, it's a bit of a challenge to draw people to the lake. It might be easier for me to direct people to the lake.
And I think it's just another attraction for our downtown corridor.
Yeah.
And it's going to bring people in knowing that, hey, let's drive out to Vernonia and rent an e-bike and let's go over to the Bear and have a hamburger. You know, it's going to enhance our business here too. So
I was quite glad to notice an uptick in the number of people actually driving from Portland, specifically because I have a electric bike rental place on Banks, Vernonia. I found that to be a very promising business sign.
have you run it? I own horses and sometimes I like to ride on the linear park trail. Have you had any issues with the equestrians?
I have not had
Okay.
any reports of any difficulties from either side, to be honest with you. I haven't seen a horse there yet.
Yeah,
I mean, or any sign of horses, droppings, or,
yeah.
I would like to see more horses, even though they don't help my business much because it's another attraction.
It's kind of a concern of mine, if I was riding along and, because those e-bikes clip right along, they can, if I came around the corner and one ran up behind my horse and, you know, it could be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm wondering if,
It's one of the difficulties of the speed differential between cyclists and any other form of traffic. As mentioned before, I do introduce people to the handy belt that comes with every single one of my bikes. I can't say that it won't be an issue, but given my customer base, I can safely say I don't think it's any more of an issue than any other cyclist. They're approximately the same speed. The e-bikes are capable of more. But my riders are usually an older demographic. It's usually a first-time ride experience. They tend to err more on the side of caution. Generalities.
I find it interesting reading the park committee notes, how they're working with Stubb Stewart and they're talking about they're working to put the widen it out for a horse trail. When they built it, there was a horse trail with chips on the side and the horses were to use that.
yeah,
Nobody ever used it. They rode right down the pavement, pooped all over it. Then they just forgot about the chips and let it grow up. And now they're talking about widening it back out. So
I remember riding on chips.
it was on one side of the trail, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So,
I've always told people that the lake was the end of the Banks Vernonia. I didn't know that.
Well, according to Banks Vernonia signage, it is, Susie. You weren't,
I mean, it makes sense to me that
Yeah.
that's it. And then that, because I tell people, just go around and get to that corner and it takes you
Yeah.
off the highway.
they kind of pulled back when CZ Trail came. They stopped at the end of the property that's state managed. So that's what they
they
decided.
paid for the bridge across then,
Who paid for the bridge across?
Rock Creek. I think that was city, wasn't it?
City of Vernonia.
City of Vernonia
So that's why they stayed home
in there.
right there.
Yeah.
Go conveniently jar line 1 foot.
If I may, on a related note, who is responsible for this end of the CZ?
What do you mean? Responsible in what?
Upkeep.
CZ.
Okay.
And the Vernonia, and City of Vernonia. So it would depend if it's most likely us. They're going to get notification and say, hey, can you go deal with whatever?
Okay.
So it's usually us.
Okay.
Yeah, when you,
Because we own, so the property across Rock Creek didn't always belong to the city. The old railroad grade went with the mill property and was donated to the city, the 5 acres there. At some point, I want to say mid 80s, the railroad grade was donated.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, the people that own the mill donated the 5 acres that's between the railroad grade and the river to the city. So the city owns that too.
You know, Jeff, and I just thought of this, another good contact for you would be actually Casey Garrett. He's a county commissioner. He's chair of the CZ Trail Committee. And he'd be a good contact for you also. Tell him what you're doing.
And they do take discrepancies and little hiccups and sign problems. They like to know about that because they're not everywhere. For a long time, we had the Nehalem Divide Trailhead. Got the R in trail. So I'm like, snapped a picture of it. I don't think we want to say tailhead, but yeah.
I hate to admit how many times I drove by and didn't notice.
Oh, I noticed every time. Like, why?
Yeah.
The only reason I asked is become a conduit for a number of cyclists to give me the reviews and feedback. So if an issue of concern should arise,
Call here.
yeah, or, you know, if it comes up in topic, it's kind of my area of expertise now.
Any other questions?
I don't have any issues with the proposed move, and I think a lot of the difficulties listed do make sense, and I want to see you successful. So I'm in favor of it.
Still don't have a shade tree down there for
Was
you.
there really a proposed swap in here? I didn't really, it was kind of hard for me to follow.
Yeah, well, he wants to propose that when we re-up in the spring, because he's getting close to the end of the season, that we re-up in the new site is what he's asking permission for.
Next spring, next year.
When we re-up the agreement with them, that we do it at the Maple and Weed public parking there.
And we don't know a trailer location or a map or none of that yet, right?
No, it would just come when they approve the next agreement.
Oh, well,
Be in the parking lot of Adams and Maple.
I'm thinking we're between the telephone pole and the Legion is where we had talked about kind of being there close to the apron that enters off of Adams, but it hasn't been a dot on a map yet.
There's a lot of power on the other side of the American Legion Hall.
The substation.
Oh, sorry.
is that going to be a good location or would like in the park be better?
You know, that is an interesting question. I've given extensive thought because I didn't think actually being in the campground about opportunity. Initially, before we ever met and spoke, I considered perhaps a long-term lease. But I would like to overlap town traffic as well, as much as possible. I don't actually want to be on Main, despite the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. I don't want to send first-time riders into traffic. On the other hand, up in the woods might be a bit too far away. But Anderson Park would be a brilliant third possible location. Again, they're all amazing locations, to be honest with you. But I do, given the available sites, I do think that a lot next to the American Legion is probably best case scenario, best compromise on all fronts. You can,
I agree.
the attractions from town, and you have 3 primary directions to take off to on your right.
Sure. I guess everybody leaving the park's got to go right past you.
You see it like from the market and the post office and everything, so.
Once you get to the trailhead, there's a big sign for all the establishments and.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the people already riding bikes probably aren't his customers.
Yes and no.
I mean, other than repair work. But then people want to know about e-bikes.
The avid cyclists are actually one of my more important sources for customers for rentals because they ride so much that their friends and family don't feel that they can keep up with them.
Oh.
So they're going to go for 15, 20 mile ride. Mom and dad right now, we're not feeling that ride. But if they can bring up like there's an e-bike rental right there, now that's excuses. This has worked in my favor a number of times. I actually, I talked to a whole wide demographic of cyclists of all different backgrounds and types. to help suggest that so they can write it back.
Any other questions or discussion?
I got no issues with it.
So yeah, I just get consensus from you guys because
Okay.
you'll have to approve the next agreement anyway. But we'll go that route if there's consensus.
I have no issue.
All those in favor, raise their hand.
All right.
Okay. Intercultural Society of Vernonia, grandstand discussion.
Well, we started, I don't even know how long ago this project started. It's been a few years, right? To save the grandstands. And I think there was a really great concentrated effort to make that happen. And in the last couple of years, it kind of started to somewhat fizzle out. And it is not really looking like it's gonna come to fruition. So as a society, we voted to go ahead and give the lease back to the city. So I'll need to sign off on what we're going to do for that. But with that said, there was a suggestion made, I think on Facebook, maybe by Steve Whiteman.
He came and made the same suggestion to council too.
Okay, so a pavilion, potentially a memorial pavilion in place of the grandstands. So if that's something that the city is interested in pursuing, once the grandstands are demolished or whatever the plan would be with that, if that's a project they want to take on, then we would need to get permission from a few large donors that we have. Most of them are not trackable, but we would donate the funds from the grandstands account to that project.
Okay.
But we would want to probably hear back from you guys in about 90 days if that's something that you want to do as a council. And if not, then we will look at allocating those somewhere else.
Okay.
Any other, you might have some questions,
Well,
Councilman?
I think that the parks committee should be included in the discussion, is in a park.
Yeah, so if we went the pavilion route, and I'm just going to say this out loud, it's going to be with grant funds. So it's going to be way longer than 90 days of you holding it because we just got the Lake Park grant. So it might be that we just, as a city, cut the Intercultural Society loose and they either reallocate or check with their donors and give it back or whatever they're going to do with the funding. I wouldn't want them to hold on to it because we won't even be able to apply until May of 23 for the next round of parks funding, which is what a pavilion with our finite resources, we'd need a grant funding system to do a pavilion.
I can look and see, I can look back and keep track of that account much, but I can go back and see if there's any reason why it can't hold for longer.
Okay.
The last statement that I looked at, it didn't look like we were getting charged a fee anymore.
Okay.
So if that's the case,
Yeah.
then those funds can sit for a little bit. They're not going anywhere.
Okay.
But we just kind of want to get an idea if that's going to be playable. So if you don't think that's something you can come up with so much spring, that's probably okay.
Could those funds, let me ask you this, Nicole, could those funds be returned to the donors?
I don't know. I don't know how well they were tracked.
I have a pretty good idea of who and what.
There were some large donors, yes. For those that just went into the bank and made $100 deposit or a $50 deposit or something.
Yeah.
We don't have any way of tracking those people. So it would only be the ones that made large donations that we did receipts for.
Yep. And those could be returned?
It could be, if that's what the donor wants.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and those are the people we're talking about going back and saying, would you approve of the use of the funds for this instead?
Okay.
And if they say no, I'd like the money back, then we'll get the money back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, any other, you have any discussion?
Is there a design of this pavilion?
No, Steve just did a one-off, kind of his version of it. I'm thinking if we're going to go for a grant, it's going to have dual use to be enticing for the criteria. So if it was, just throwing this out there, if it was a pickleball court, most, when it could be, and then it was a venue where we had a area where it had tables and chairs that could be used by the community for the old timers picnic or for a class reunion or whatever. I think we're going to have dual use to get enticing to Oregon Parks and Rec. So there isn't a design. Steve has got one he's pitched and he said, look, this could be this and this could be this, but no one's done any feasibility on how big that is, how I think if we're doing something, we should kind of match. We kind of have the wood or CMU structure and the green roof is kind of the thing in Spencer Park. So we'd probably continue that to some extent in a start of design, but yeah, nobody other than Steve's drawing that he's pitched.
So when is the proposed meeting? What's the time frame? What are we thinking on that?
What proposed meeting?
It says council will be holding a discussion to go over plans and steps for the structure.
Oh,
Is that this?
this was just an idea.
Oh,
Yeah, it was just,
I think we're putting the cart before the horse.
yeah, we were saying like a future meeting. So Parks Committee, it basically, if council directs Parks Committee to chew on, hey, pavilion, what could the uses be? How do we be enticing to Oregon Parks and Rec for a spring ask? And then that would just be wintertime work for Parks Committee and council to kind of tell staff where we're going.
got it.
I'd like to make some comments. I was quite involved early on from May 7th, 2019, when we signed the lease, and I was a big part of the grandstand, Save the Grandstand Committee, and so was Councilor Allen and several other people in this community, and we had a vision and we gave it a good go. And but then after a while, things just didn't work out and we lost several contractors and, we put together a good engineering plan to repair them and then COVID hit. And the last contractor that we had, we were pretty confident that he was going to be able to help us. And then he and his family got COVID and got sick. And so he withdrew about 8 different projects. He was a big contractor in Hillsborough. And so we were right back to square one. And over the last 3 years, it's deteriorated substantially and through vandalism and rain and weather. And so, I personally had quite a bit involved in it, both financially and labor. And I came to the point, my personal opinion was, some things aren't meant to be in life. And so I kind of gave into that, and it's not easy, but I'm just concerned with the safety of the people in Vernonia around it now. And we have an issue with scaffolding now that's kind of supporting half of it. And so it's not going to be as easy as a demo as you might think it is. It's going to take some work and security fencing around it and a contractor, and it's going to cost money. And so, but anyway, that's where we're at. Do you have anything to add, JR?
Just thank you for your efforts.
Yeah.
I know you did a lot. So, you tried your best. Appreciate it.
So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion.
Okay.
Think of that. So I'll make a motion that we terminate the lease with the grandstands and we move forward and to demo it and make it safer for Spencer Parks.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Counselor Ash,
Hi.
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Counselor Allen.
Nay.
Sorry, I'm writing. Counselor Webb,
Aye.
motion carries.
Okay. Okay.
So Nicole, you'll get my formal letter because that's what we have to do, but
That's fine. Do I need to sign anything?
no,
Okay.
you're good.
Thank you, Nicole, for
Thank you, Nicole.
Coming tonight.
Thank you.
Business from the departments. I have something.
Oh, you have,
Okay.
go for it.
It happened Saturday at the Salmon Festival, and both myself and Josette were in very close proximity, and a citizen approached us, very irate, irrational, almost blood coming out of her eye sockets, and she was started in on me, and right in front of the public and her own family. And it got pretty aggressive, and we tried to calm the situation down, and she was not being rational. And so we both dialed Sergeant Carnahan's number at the same time. And fortunately, he was in the vicinity. So he came over and basically it was one of those situations where you just want the people to go away. And it was pretty difficult. And so without getting any details or in the weeds, I'm just going to say Josette and Sergeant Carnahan handled it so professionally that it didn't escalate any more than it did. And eventually it turned out pretty good. And after about an hour, this individual left the park. So I want to thank you and Sergeant Carnahan for a job well done. So it was pretty amazing how it turned out. But for about 10 minutes, it was pretty ugly. So,
I got something about the police department also.
okay.
At 5 a.m., driving through downtown Vernonia, I seen a cop car of Vernonia had somebody pulled over. For what, I don't know, but I assume probably driving too fast or something. Anyway, it might have been a couple minutes before him, so I'm very pleased to see we've got different shifts going on and somebody's watching early in the morning, once in a while anyway.
I believe he was here at 3 in the morning.
Vernonia Police.
Sean, that early?
So kudos to him. If you could pass that
It
along.
was to switch it up a bit.
Yeah,
Anyway, it was,
You bad guys out there, he's switching it up. They're
yeah. No time is safe now.
Thank you, JR. Okay, anything else? Okay. Ordinances and resolutions done.
None.
Correspondence tonight.
Are we still waiting, sorry, on the tree ordinance? Peace tree?
Yes, so a little update on that. There isn't one in existence. We are going to be the first ones to write one for the program. So yes, we are
Peachtree.
behind on that because we are going to assist them by being the first ones to put one in place.
Okay.
So we are currently in the drafting stages, going back and forth with what they want to see in it, what cities or municipalities would be willing, with our legal looking at it, what we don't want to. Basically, city councils should never enact something that legally makes trouble for future councils. So that's why you have legal look at it and make sure that what the Peachtree people would love what they've found is in some communities that had the original first round of the peace trees, that all of the people that remember what the deal was have gone. So there's no protection from the city for these things that they've put in place. So we agreed to be the first ones to help them write that.
Okay.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Delayed, but progress.
It's back and forth with drafts and
Great.
what they want to see and what we're willing to tie the future councils for. Yeah.
Okay, city administrator report, page 34.
Yeah, so I attended the Parks Committee meeting and we discussed the next steps for the OPRD planning grant, which is for the wagon wheel campground or the lake campground around the burner base. They won't send us the agreement till the end of this month in October or by the middle of November. And you can't really do any work that costs you money that you're going to want reimbursed for ahead of signing the agreement. So we're kind of in a holding pattern. We did have Aaron from Stub Stewart come and kind of basically reiterated the process, which is you kind of start your planning by going out for bid for someone to help you design it. So it's either a design firm or a campground firm. He was going to give me some names of people that had designed campgrounds that they had really good luck with or rapport with, to kind of, you're allowed to send specific bid asks to specific companies, but then publicly anybody could bid that thinks they can do the work. So we did discuss that. And we're, in the meantime, before the agreement, we're refreshing our bid docs. So it details out kind of what we're looking for them to do for us in the planning stages. We're really looking at kind of a phased plan. So a really good primary first phase 1, and then plans phase 2 and 3 would be bringing in the ADA handicap restroom, right? So laying it out so that it can build, and we could go back to OPRD and ask at the next round for the build of a restroom, because we've laid it out where nothing's gonna inhibit the other thing from happening. We don't want to put a water line right where we're going to need a concrete sidewalk. So it's kind of that forward thinking planning. So we're working on the bid docs to kind of lay out that schedule. The other thing that I talked to Parks Committee about is that typically you either do a 50, 100% iteration of the plans, where the designer takes in all your original input from the Parks Committee and the council and the community, does 50% of the drawing, and then comes back to the parties. Or you can do it a 30, 60, 90. There's ways to do it. It's kind of just what we want. 30, 60, 90 kind of helps them not to go totally in the wrong direction before they're redirected, but I've seen it work both ways. So that's kind of what we discussed about the planning grant. I haven't gotten any information back on the ask for the new crosswalk. ODOT did have their survey crews out here. They have till 2032 to do all the ramps in the state. That's their timeline. Whether or not that even is reality, we all know. But
Slated though, right?
we're slated for the 24, 27 stip, but that means that they've handled the ones that are the 21, 24 stip, right? If they don't get those done, then they're going to be backlogged. So, but they were out looking at the one right across from Myers, which I did discuss with them, probably go away and be moved down. You know, they're playing around with what exists, what's really used, what ones have issues. So we haven't got any information back on, once they get all the data from the existing ramps, he said he would come out and discuss with me which ones they could foresee just getting curbed over and if our new one would be sufficient. So the sidewalk ramps, I said at the last meeting that the river ramp was passed and the Umatilla ramps failed, which was interesting because they were nearly flat. But the guys have pulled out, and I believe that our engineer and Parker are coming out at the end of this week to work on the laying out of Umatilla ramps and what ODOT's issue was. The frustrating part for us is that they don't care what the asphalt does after the ramp. And where they're running into the highway, it goes straight up. So the ramp will come down and the asphalt goes up. So how someone that's in a handicap capacity is going to act, doesn't make sense, but we just keep going. So we're still working on finishing the ODOT ramps. And when Parker had a little bit of grinding left to do on the Spencer ramp, and then they're calling in for the ODOT inspection of that one. We're hoping, because it had such few problems, that it will pass. It's funky, but whatever. Nehalem River Park and Campground, they've completed the play structure. The final signs have come. So Mitch is installing those. It's a welcome one, a one-way one, a day use parking, day use picnic area. And we've ordered the new handicap sign for one of the handicap pads, because there's 2 handicap camping sites there that are asphalted, and somehow one of the signs went missing. So. And then they just have a little bit of cable to finish. And I don't know if you've driven out there, it has a brand new gate, because the old gate was like kind of piecemealed with chain link strapped to it. It looked funky and wasn't sufficient. So it does have a new gate, and then it'll have a sign for when the park closes December 1st through March 30th. It's closed for the winter because it's floodplain season, and that was a real downtime for camping out there. So that's all completed. The 2 juveniles that vandalized Spencer Park have completed their community service, and they went through their final hearing, and the case against them is closed. They were super respectful and helpful when they did their service hours. They toured around town and did work with Iwalani, who's no nonsense, so there was no room. And then one of them's like, oh, there's my dad. Well, how do you think he feels about this? I'm driving you around to clean up parks. What are you doing? So they were very sweet, and I think they're not going to be issues. And they're probably going to be helpful in deterring other kids to also not be issues. So that will be good.
What was the age?
They were 12, both 12.
Okay.
The librarian, so I received a notice earlier this month that Shannon is resigning. She's found a position. She has ultimate goals for herself in the community, and she's found a position that she wanted to give a shot and try something new. So the posting closed for people interested in her job last Friday, and we've received a few applications. We're right now going through, a couple of them were out of state, and we're like, this is not an online job. Do you understand? Because their cover letter said nothing about being interested in relocating. We're like, do you really know this is in Oregon, and this is this job and this price range? Because it seemed kind of strange, but we're double checking all of that. And then what comes out of that will either hold interviews, or if there's only one applicant that's interested, that's here, that's qualified, then we'll just interview that one person, but we'll see.
Josette?
Yeah.
Are we moving that position back into a full-time?
The plan wasn't to do that. The plan was to stay with Shannon's hours. So she was fluxing anywhere between 28 and 32. And that's kind of the plan, was to stick with that because it worked with the hourly also help. And so if the person if it's an internal hire, then we would be hiring for the person below that. Why are you asking? Do you think it should be?
Fiscally, it looked like there was an opportunity there to kind of clean that up, because that was kind of an oddball position there. It wasn't, I mean, a full-time job is 40-hour work week.
Right.
Right. And so
the budget will have.
I'm going with this, but you know, 32. The helper position maybe wouldn't have Benny, so.
Yeah, that's true. The current position, though, it isn't in the budget. I mean, depending on what parts of the benefit package the new person requests, if they're a full family for insurance, the budget might not support going up to that, depending on their wage and what they're requesting from Benny. So it'll all just kind of be dependent on the applicant.
Well, from a budget standpoint, if I remember this correctly, the current librarian said she would not consider working 6 more hours a week. So we bumped up 6 more hours on a part-time and then paid them benefits also. So to Councilor Webb's point, I could see where if you had someone that works full-time, which most people do to get benefits, then you would only have benefits for 1, maybe potentially 2. I don't know how many people at the library are getting benefits for part-time work, but as a taxpayer, it would seem a little extravagant for people to get benefits for part-time work, especially.
They're not really part-time. Anything over 20 hours, you have to offer benefits. So.
Okay. So we went just past 20 hours then for the second person,
The second person is 26 hours.
26, and they were working.
It's not that way.
It isn't. But so that it will all just really depend on who the applicant is, what their experience level is, where they come in on that salary range, and then what their request from the benefits package is based on when I say request, if you work for us as a full-time person, right, over the hours that considered full-time, we have to offer full family if they want to insure their whole family. So that price point would be a lot different than if they were a single person and we're only covering them. That will tell us, so we don't really know what's available in the budget till it all kind of flushes out, right, with that main position.
You're not set on 2 people having benefits to.
No, I'm not. I'm.
Oh, you are?
No.
Okay.
That next position down could be split into 2 part-time people. It will really just depend on what the community can staff at that point, right? So if we have 2 kind of almost retirees that only want 15 hours a week each, that's perfect, right? They fit in and then they're just getting, workman's comp and that's it. And they go along their merry way and have a part-time job. But if the pool doesn't have that, and in order to keep the operation going, we have to offer more hours with maybe insuring a single person or whatever it becomes, that's what it will be. So we don't know yet.
Okay. So
We're not stuck to anything.
looking at being flexible with it. Because previous to Shannon, I think that was pretty much a full-time job.
It was a full-time job, but there were 3 part-time people that worked because the one person had the full-time and benefits and the other people were way under in their hours. But that was the audience we had, right? That was the pool we were picking from. And so we'll just depend.
I just wanted to.
No, we're not.
Indicate that I was hoping you were looking at potentially doing back to full-time and maybe.
It'd be great if we could find, people that just wanted blips of time.
Yeah.
We'll just see what's out there.
Yeah.
Once we see if it's internally filled with the person that's currently working at the library, and if they're interested and can do full-time, great, because that covers more of the coverage there. But it may not pan out that we have the understudies either, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josette, why does 32 hours?
That's an Angie question. Are you going to ask me why it considered full-time? Oh.
Normal private businesses, if you work 32 hours, you're considered full-time and you get full benefit. Why does 32? Does that go for you?
An Angie question. I know 20 is the break for if we have to offer sick time and all these there's like steps. So if you work for us for 20 hours, we have to pay you sick pay. That's like a state law. So it's really an Angie thing. I could have her break it down. I'm not the person that has it memorized, but I could get that information of how that breaks down, what we have to offer at the different levels if you guys want that.
Shannon worked 32 hours a week, did she?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It kind of fluctuated depending.
To 32.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Trying to know if she was wanting reduced.
Because it's really a whole it's really your total hours for the year, right? So when someone comes back and they're retired and they have to stay under the halftime of hours, that's really what? It's like 1,080 or 1,040 and it's 2080. Yeah, 1,040. They could work 40 hours a week for 6 weeks and then not work anything. Does that make sense? And they're still a halftime person?
Yeah.
It's strange, but I don't have it all memorized, but I can get you information if you want to have her kind of give the breakdown of how it works.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Do you have a date, an effective date for Shannon's resignation? When she's,
I didn't give you guys, you mean when she's out? She has agreed to transition the new person, so I'm thinking it's the end of November is when she will for sure not be our employee anymore.
I think
That's the
correct. Yeah.
To transition this, kind of help keep it rolling so there isn't just a big bailout. I believe it's November, end of November.
Well, I'm sorry to see her go. I think we're losing a nice lady and a good librarian, so maybe she found a job with less hours. I don't know, but.
No, I think she ultimately wants to do something totally different. Which, hey, I understand.
Time
Yeah.
to switch it up.
I agree, JR. I was at the board meeting when she announced it, and it caught the whole board and myself by surprise. Got pretty emotional for a little bit, and about the only thing I could say is thank you so much. You do what you need to do for your family, and thank you for the last 8 years. You've been a part of our community, and especially during the pandemic, because she had as many visits in our small little town per capita as St. Helens did.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing
Well, and she was making
stat to me.
She was making lots of opportunities to check out on a cart and turn them in, and books were in quarantine for 3 days and they could, all the stuff she was willing to do it. So it was awesome. And then I wanted to mention last thing on my report is that Congresswoman Bonamici is coming on October 12th to do a tour. The mayor and I are going to be in attendance. She's looking at the money that Travel Oregon has done throughout the state with art and murals. And so we're going to do a tour of all the Vernonia murals and take her on a little short, I think they have 40 minutes for us or something for the city. We're on a tight timeline. Everybody hustle down the sidewalk, but.
Was there a time with that?
I want to say, I think she's doing it at like 10. I don't know. It's on the email. But there's members of Travel Oregon. Rachel Oregon's going to be there, and then her staff, Bonamici's staff. I'm not sure what time it said.
That's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'll be on
Same night as our workshop.
I'll be on a field trip. We're going to Keezy to watch salmon.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Kindergarten.
That's fun.
Oh, salmon, yeah. Hopefully you have more by then.
They were doing
So
good.
it looks like they're currently scheduled like 11:30 to 12:15 is their 45 minutes for us. So we're kind of letting Columbia Economic Team and Rachel kind of share with her how the program went, and Rick and I are just there to answer any city questions. And that's what I have. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I did on the Umatilla crosswalk. I was curious. Going to pour that for the third time. Where are we getting the money for that?
Streets.
I thought you said we're out last time.
Out
of funds.
Not in the streets fund. We were out of the grant money.
Oh, so now it's just coming out of the street fund that we have left over.
Yeah.
And I did notice, did you know they're dumping the concrete down there in the Mill Pond property?
On the city's property?
Oh, it's in there by the waterworks or the sewer plant.
Yeah, that's a huge concrete mountain back there that if the city ever got a little windfall, we might think about bringing a crusher in and actually making a usable, sellable product.
Old pyramids from the mill.
Yeah, everything they dug out of the school's wetland is in that pile.
It's actually not in the pile, but it's in that area. But yeah.
Yeah,
Then it did.
left-hand side going in that road.
In the Halem River Park, I was out there and it looked really nice. The pay structure looked good. I thought the posts around it looked good without the cables. Are they planning on putting the cables back in? I don't think you really need them, but
Yeah, well, we're planning on putting it back in just in a few areas. So as you come around the corner, the first two bollards are pretty distanced.
oh,
So we're going to put it there and then leave it open. And then around where the day use parking is, so they don't drive through or try to, so that can also be day use and people can kind of feel secure in putting a blanket out there without a car coming
yeah.
at them.
Well, anyway, it's the best it's looked in a while.
Yeah, it's looking good.
You tell the staff, I noticed the markers and the post and the gate and
Yeah, it's looking good.
play station or play thing. And what else was there? There was something else I noticed. Anyway,
Yeah,
looked pretty good.
I'll let them know.
Do we have anyone apply to be a park host?
No, so I think because we're so close to it closing for winter, our plan is to have just a tenant until the opening in spring and go out early ahead of the opening and try and find a park host for the season.
So like when I go camping at Spruce Run Campground, there's no electricity there, but the camp host has a generator that's provided by Clatsop County and pays for their fuel. And that's all they have. They have a big fifth wheel and they stay right in the campground. So that's an option if we decide we want somebody in the park.
So, they have a generator to run their trailer is what you're saying? Okay.
It might be their own generator, but I think they said they get reimbursed for the fuel or something.
Oh, okay.
So that,
We've looked a number of times, bringing electricity, there's never make our money back. The other nice thing about that camp host spot is that it actually has a drain field. It actually has a septic. They hook up to actual septic there and a drain field for their, yeah.
yeah, I don't know how they do the drain field. They might maybe they put a tank in and have it pumped once. I don't know. I didn't look.
So ours there has an actual, they can just hook up to it and use their shower and everything as normal. Because it has water, sewer and electric. But yeah, they have talked about in the past how it would be a little bit more inviting to have the camp host in there. But we've just never, it's been always priced us out of trying to get the site on the other side of the road.
When's that close?
Closes November 30th is the last day. So it'll be closed December 1st through March 30th.
Anything else? Okay. Items from the mayor and councilors. I'd like to thank Josette and Sean Gibson, Dale Webb for a very successful salmon festival, I thought. One of the better ones that I've attended. And thank you for all your efforts. And the weather was great. Lots of people, lots more vendors this time. Dale worked all day down at the fish pond, and that's a chore. Thank you, Dale, for everything you did down there. So Lions Club did very well. The auction was incredible.
Yeah.
And
How'd that go? Oh, I wanted to go, but my wife had me.
oh, JR, you missed it.
I wanted the steampunk.
4,500.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten final numbers yet because I've been.
What'd they go for? 200 or 300 a piece?
Oh, yeah. 500 and those two that Nina.
Yeah.
1350 and
Wow.
6.
Oh,
They raised over
I
6,000.
like that one she did that had Vernonia on it and everything.
Yeah.
That's the one I was interested in.
1350.
Yeah.
I got a bid on it, but it was out of my range.
Yeah, if I brought home a wooden salmon for $13.50, I'd probably be out in the doghouse.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's only went for a couple $100, but then a bunch of them got up into 4 or 5.
Oh, I thought that was an awesome idea. Is that something we've done before, a long time ago?
Yeah.
And were the salmon given to artists to do?
Yeah, so we had an agreement, in the olden days, we would work with Carvin Marvin and he would make the blanks. So he'd carve the majority of the outline and a little bit of contour, and then each artist had to take it from there. And he had fallen kind of not feeling good, so he didn't do it for a number of years. And we said, hey, it's our 20th year. Will you please do it? This will be the last time we ask you. And so he did 20 salmon for the 20th year. And then we found a new woodworker, because every year it kind of gets stale. So you kind of have to mix it up. But we found a new local woodworker that bought a property up in Oaks, who said he'd be interested in being our salmon blank carver if we're interested in doing it again.
Cool. I thought it was really neat. Was that the most expensive one, Nina's?
Oh, I don't know his name.
First two, 13.
Okay, probably, yeah.
16.
I don't know.
Those were the first two auctioned.
They were towards the end.
Mid, yeah.
Towards the end.
How much did the steampunk one go for?
It went for just over $200 because I was I was bidding up to 200. And
That was a bargain, I think.
And it went, yeah, I think it went for about like 225.
It was weird, but I liked it for some reason.
Yeah,
That was the very last one. Yeah.
there was a lot of really cool stuff.
Dolly Keenan had one that went for $500, I think.
Yeah.
Who was the auctioneer? This Slick Willie to get the bids?
No, I
No, it
was given rides
Oh,
in my 4-seater wagon and with my tractor.
oh, you had that out too. Wow, I missed a lot.
Joe from the antique store did the auctioning.
Oh, okay.
He did pretty good.
Yeah.
He's been in enough auctions.
Yeah.
Gretchen's leather one, did that one do well?
Yes.
That one went for several $100.
Yeah. She was kind of sitting there and I'm like, I turned around and she's just like,
So that was proceeds for the Intercultural Society, correct?
no, for Salmon Festival. And then we kicked down, because it's all Salmon Festival,
Wait a minute, who runs the Salmon Festival?
the Salmon Festival.
Huh?
Its own thing.
The committee.
Separate.
Okay, because there was some confusion. People thought they were raising money for the city, and I know the city is not involved directly.
No.
No, I've been doing Salmon Festival for 20 years, way before I was part of the city.
Maybe that's why, because they see you. And
Yeah, they do. But, yeah, so,
Festival's like a logging show.
yeah, like Jamboree.
Oh, great.
And, there was lots of good food.
Yeah.
The Lions served elk chili and salmon chowder, and it was to die for.
It's easy to eat the
I
salmon.
cooked the salmon Friday night.
How many real salmon were in the river right there?
There was,
Yeah, there were.
yeah, 4 or 5 came up.
I seen 2 downriver about 10 miles from here the other day.
Yeah, we saw a couple come up the day we put the trout in the trout pond. Yeah, they're coming up.
Good day.
One lady asked me, so is the salmon chowder the only salmon you have to eat? And I'm like, actually, this festival started as a watershed event. And it's because the salmon come up Rock Creek. That's our celebration. And she's like, oh, got it. And she goes over and tells her husband, she's like, honey, this is a nature festival. I'm like, that's all right.
So grab a pitchfork there, right?
I mean, people come and we used to, when we started, my husband and I would do barbecued salmon bento as a food bank fundraiser. And then we sell salmon jerky on a stick, basically. So it's like chunks of salmon on a popsicle stick. But then we started taking over more and more of the festival administration. So we could do less and less, but I'd love to come back and do salmon bento. It was awesome.
Pretty sure Casey Mitchell was down there, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I think we probably left him off the thank you list, but
he was,
Yeah, Casey, of course.
he was getting led around pretty hard. Honeydew, go get this, go get
you
this.
have the nose.
He's 1/3 of the chairpersons.
His salmon went for
I think,
$500, $600.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he did too.
I've seen that.
Now, how did you find out about the salmon? Because I didn't even know about it until people started posting pictures.
How do you find out about being an artist?
How was it advertised? I must have missed it.
Been in Facebook all over the place.
Yeah, they were in all of the storefronts.
No, I mean to get one.
Oh,
Four.
Being honest, yeah.
we did a call for artists, kind of Paula did back in March. And then like I have names of people that are like, if you do it again, I want it. So I just took names at Salmon Festival, different artists that were interested. So the artists buy the blank,
That's what I was gonna say. You hit them on that too?
they buy the blank and then they donate it back finished. And so that's the deal. So it has to be someone that wants to buy the blank and then kind of have it go for what it,
And it's kind of special,
I think it's 50.
kind of special too, because Carbon Marvin retired this year. He's not doing any more.
You know, if you did it next year, I wonder if you could do a youth one too.
Well, so coming out of that years ago is the junior salmon auction, which happens every year at the school. And that is to benefit, they do not just salmon, but they do a lot of salmon. And then they do paint furniture and do different tables and things at the high school art classes.
They had like some stars and stuff last year.
Yeah. And so then that kind of came out of that and it has become a thing at the school that they do for arts education.
So was I right? There was 22 salmon auction?
20.
20. And was there room for more or the bidders done?
I think 20 is probably the limit. The auction took almost 2 hours, nearly an hour and a half. Started at 3 and ended around 4:15, 4:20.
And no silent auction. It was all live.
The watershed did hold a raffle where you could come buy tickets and put them in the jars of what you wanted to win. And then they did that. Lions raffled off their bench. So it was kind of like a raffle auction.
I'm sorry I missed it this year.
Yeah,
It was a good one.
it was a good one.
Right, the best
The
one.
weather,
Yeah, was gorgeous.
the weather was great and that always makes a difference. If it warms up early, people come out of their houses. If it stays foggy, we're down there till like noon, like, where is everybody?
Yeah, it
Is it
wasn't.
always the first weekend?
The first Saturday of October.
Yeah, sometimes it's
I will
foggy
never
till
make it. I'm sorry.
12:30.
Rock things.
Excellent.
But yeah,
Okay, any other council comments?
Yeah, I got hold of my cousin Dennis Weller. We went out and toured the 2 timber parcels
Oh,
out by the dump. Of course, access is through one of his sons. Yeah, no, it was last minute hurry up thing to do. And I think it was the day you were working. So yeah, unfortunately, I told you I seen some really nice slick sticks down there. Unfortunately, they're not on us. They're on the parcel down below us. Yeah, we would have been in the money if they were ours, I tell you. It's probably about $500,000
up by the old dump site.
sitting down there on that parcel.
Which parcel, Dale? Up
So you know where we used to dump over the bank?
at the old dump site?
Yeah, up on
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
not in the trench. There's 2 parcels. There's the trench parcel, it's right there by the entrance, and then the other is where we used to dump down over the hillside, just let her go. There's a few trees up on top, nothing great up there, but down the bottom, but we're growing a lot of brush. I mean, I don't know if somebody come in, I see some cat roads in there, so I think unfortunately somebody in the past come in and creamed it. Probably didn't get planted back, growing a lot of viney and brush. I mean, I think when I ran the numbers, there's all together on this, I think it's over 15 acres. There's only 52,000 board feet of timber on it. That's my guesstimate. Yeah, that'd be today's prices. That's probably about $44,000 worth of timber, but it's scattered. So, you know, you're going to give the contractor probably half of it to do it and have them brush it, pile.
And we plant.
And then we'll have to replant it.
No, make them do it. So we were out of there.
Yeah,
We'd end up with
maybe, I
about
don't know.
20,000 then.
So, yeah, I figured we, you know,
25 or
22 grand or so. But I think the main goal is to get it back into active production. The other part of this is the access is going to be across David Weller's property to get in there, and he's pretty specific. He isn't going to let anybody in there other than probably his father, so that's, I don't know, talk to legal on that, but
Yeah.
we got to be careful. But, you know, he just logged his a few years ago, so his trees aren't very big yet, and just a little short access across. He's got a cat road, logging road, long, you know, you can run the truck right out of there, and we can put the landing all on us. So just be very minor replanting on his property.
So what do you do if it grows up, no homeowner switches and then they won't let you in
Well, and you know, that's a question.
without an easement?
Well, we still have access from the top, but that means you'd have to cable log it in the future.
Oh, just because,
I mean, and that's,
You just want to
we're
drag
going
them.
to have to put this out for bid. And that's what the people that are going to bid on it, well, we can give you access to the top, but you'd have to talk to that landowner down there. You know, and it's going to be more expensive, the cable yard, way more. So it's just going to be what it is.
David's big in the firewood business now. These
He is.
I wonder if he want to buy it from you and just take it out slowly, the timber on that property.
Oh, you mean buy the property?
Yeah, buy the timber off.
Oh, to buy the timber?
Yeah.
Well, he would,
Just something to throw out.
he might be interested in buying the firewood that'll come off of it, because there's a lot of alder, maple, and scrap wood. But no, I doubt he'd want to buy the saw logs that are going for between $800 and $900 a thousand for firewood. So
What if you get a better deal though, than paying somebody to come in and fully log it? I don't know, just
yeah.
an idea.
So between the two parcels, there's about 300 trees up there. So some of them.
How old are they, Dale?
Under the
60?
dump. Yeah, maybe. You know, I just figured there's going to be two logs.
Mostly
Average in the
domestic?
sticks.
Or-
Yeah, the part.
or any export?
Mostly, no, I think it's too naughty for export. And then the upper parcel where the trench is, it was pretty nice because Dennis had that OnX program, so we could basically walk right down the lines and kind of find where the lines would be. But that's another cost. We're going to have to get the lines flagged, you know, property, so we don't cut over on somebody else's. So it's pretty obvious up on top where they are on the upper part, because Gwen's had thinned in next to it. So there's a real definite, nice, clean timber patch, and then there's this brush hole on us. So you know, both of us looking at it, we're just like, wow, you know, I mean, there's only about 3,000 board feet per acre on it right now. It's a waste of ground, you know, we need to get it back into production. You know, and in the future, you know, that 15 acres, you know, it'd be worth several hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know,
Maybe
40, 60 years from now, whoever has, you know, decides to log it then.
Yeah.
Can you break even and get it brushed and replanted and in production properly?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I figured, you know, if we went 50/50 and Dennis was saying if he did it, he said, that's what I'd want. But he said he would do he'd brush it, pile it, which is going to be considerable.
And replant. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Replanting, I think you'd get a better price having a company come in and do it
Yeah.
than Weller's.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Same like the guys that are going to do the mill.
right.
So, speaking of that, the dozer's coming tomorrow morning to cut the lines in for the mill site planting.
That's on my list. I'll scratch that one.
Yeah.
Catch it. So we're going to cut the lines, let them germinate, then spray them, and then plant in the winter. The trees, I think we can get them February, end of February.
Yeah, 14th, I think, something like that. She's already paid for the trees, I believe.
Yep.
Well, keep that on in our scope anyway, Dale.
So, yeah, this project here you know, we need to kind of put it on our radar. We don't want to wait too long. The longer we wait,
The taller everything,
David's trees are growing and we're,
right.
you know, there's more damage.
Or he doesn't give us access because
Yeah.
they hit a certain point or release and then he might not want us driving over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's like maybe a next year
Yeah.
type
When the
scenario.
diesel prices go back down.
So anyhow, that's just something.
Right.
And I think they caught 146 fish out of the pond.
Yep.
And we put the rest in the lake and the one was like 4-pounder. Oh, it was, all those kids were freaking out seeing that big fish in there and everybody wanted to catch it. He was that lockjaw.
Yeah.
He went in the lake and looked like he survived. So, yeah, I had to keep mob of kids helping there and, you know, take that net and bring them all to the corner there. And, oh, they were in there. It was chaos.
We should sell tickets to that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Get your kid a ticket to help with the fish transport.
Toward the end of the day, I kept having kids, well, when are we gonna do the fish? You know, I want to help, you know. This one girl, she was all in on doing it, you know.
Yeah.
Mom went down and wanted her to go home and I said, oh, she was gonna help me with the fish. Mom kind of went, oh. She got to come back.
I wonder if we could mark one fish
Yeah.
and
Have a derby.
have it kind of a derby and
Good.
have a jackpot kind of thing.
We used to have a fishing derby there.
Yeah,
KUPL came out, one of the country stations came out when Bill Yo was out there for a few years. They came out and did a KUPL fishing derby there.
Yeah, they sponsored it. I forgot about that.
Is that who sponsored it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was the country radio.
Yeah, they put spaghetti.
Because he was friends with, I'm not going to get the name, but it's like Rick and Bob or Rick and Joe or something.
Yeah.
Were two of the DJs that he was friends with. They knew Bill Yo somehow.
98.7.
I only know because I did a fish cleaning station where I cleaned all the fish for people as a benefit for the food bank. They paid me $1 a fish to clean their fish so they didn't have to pay. Hey, there was a lot of people in the derby that didn't know the first thing about gutting a fish, so I made some bank for the food bank.
Anything else, Dale?
No, I think that's it.
Thank you. Yeah,
Trees, good.
or Sheree?
I'm good.
I do have like 4 update requests and 1 safety observation. I'll start with the safety observation. I was walking the dog and we went down the dock at the lake over by the fuel shed. And my dog fell through
Fell through what?
the hole in the ramp.
Like his leg fell through?
Yeah, like,
Okay.
okay. And then I got looking, it's like there's another big hole that my whole foot can go through. So I think from a safety point, it needs to be closed or fixed. Like,
Well, funny you should say that because I've already ordered the grading that's coming. We do we put marine plywood?
right?
No, we know it's not the fix, or do we order grading? And within the parks budget, there is money, and so we're buying the whole length of grading. It's a fiberglass molded product. Dale research and gave me all these different prices and different types and what they were proposing. But remember Topper Industries had quoted us like $13,000 to do it?
Yep.
We're going to get both ramps done for under 5. We're buying the sheets that are 4 feet by 12 feet. We need 4 per ramp. They come with the clips, the same exact kind of product. And we're going to get those reinstalled with actual fiberglass.
Clips and then screw into the cross.
Yeah, so they rest on those cross members where, yeah, same thing, but yeah. So that's in the works.
when are they coming in?
Well, I don't have an estimated ship date yet from them. But we talked about, in the meantime, Public Works has 2 work orders to just go patch those and paint the edges so people don't trip over the height difference. But yeah, they're going to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. Excellent. And then I was wanting an update on the power pole and power at the cemetery shed.
Yeah, so Jamie hasn't gotten back to me on when they can get that scheduled. That's Jamie Mullins from Westo.
We've been hearing that for a couple months now. I think I'd send him another email.
Well, they've got a lot going on. They're doing their own undergrounding projects, so they're kind of not doing other people's projects unless it's necessity, which no one lives there, so they don't deem it necessity. But they're doing their underground project from along the linear trail.
Are they doing it for free or are we a customer?
We're a customer,
Okay.
but even us as a customer, we're at the bottom of the list till they finish their stuff. So,
No date on that one.
no, I don't have a date for the
Okay.
install of that. They have to move the pole and then put in the,
And my other
Drop the base.
update I was wondering about was the museum grant to fix those back walls.
yeah, so I have not moved anywhere on that.
An update on Louisiana project with all of our engineering, and that getting kind of late in the year already.
I wish you would ask me these questions before so I could actually question the engineer because I don't know where he's at with that.
Okay.
I'd have to ask him and then get back to you.
You haven't heard from them.
Not specifically about that. He's currently doing Springboard and their firms, there's others on the firm working on the next set of Louisiana, not Robert yet. Robert's done with it.
Okay, so no movement there that you know of. An update on the cameras that we've been talking about.
Yeah, so I know Stephanie in the minutes, it's a little misleading. My understanding from staff was until Blue Mountain tells us what fiber connectivity we're going to have, I can't really pitch different cameras to you guys until I see what we're going to have so I can pitch you the best option. So my understanding was it was tabled until I can get that data from them, but the minutes say it's coming back to this meeting, which it obviously didn't. So I'm waiting for them to tell me, hey, we can get you this many gigs or whatever. And then I'm going to pitch ones that can run off that to you guys.
Yeah, it was like, I guess my understanding was 4 weeks ago, you were close to finding out that information and we were going to come back with the information on the connectivity stuff.
Well, no, I pitched to you at the last council meeting, the sites and the camera, three different camera options, but that was 2 weeks ago, right?
Right, you weren't here.
What?
You weren't at the last meeting.
You weren't here at the last council meeting.
Oh, yeah, okay. So
So-
that's what you mean 4 weeks
It
ago.
was a month ago and you said they were going to put it in probably for nothing and
Yeah.
come back.
I haven't got their bid back or their info back.
Okay, so
They're looking at also helping out the library. So they had people here looking at doing the library. I believe they're going to do the food bank and Rose Avenue Center. So they've got multiple things for the Vernonia area in the works for benefits, but I haven't heard back from my guy.
Okay, I just keep hearing about more damage and just kind of hoping we can get those cameras up before the darker hours and stuff coming.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for a timer for the basketball shed.
No.
It's been dark.
It's been dark.
The last couple of times.
Oh, then they must have the timer wrong. I'll put a work order on that. No, the timer, we put it in, so they must have the time off.
What time is it supposed to be on till 10?
It's supposed to be on till 11 because that's when the park closes. Okay.
And my last question. The restroom rehab at the lake.
Yeah.
Are we still on schedule to do that this fall?
Well, no, we didn't. We said it was going to be a winter job because Mitch does outside stuff. And then when the weather turns bad, he does inside stuff. So he's not done doing outside stuff yet. He's still mowing cemetery and doing outdoor honeydews at the parks and everywhere. So, but Angie's networking with a mason because we want that middle wall. So she's been trying to contact different people that would be interested in building that middle wall. And then Mitch and I did talk about playing around with the roof to see if it's the snap kind, because it's not the riveted kind. And if it's the snap kind, can we get it off enough to fix the underlayment, or is it going to ruin it? So he's playing with that. He's tinkering on that.
Okay, so it is in the works still.
Yeah, we're working on it. It's just, we don't have a date for any of the,
We discussed this at Parks because I've heard this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was like,
And
I did bring that up to them.
that reminds me of one more thing, sorry. What about the committee get together? We were going to do that in October?
Yeah, so Stephanie, I talked to said that at Parks too, that we wanted that process outlined with the different committee members. Stephanie, after you guys scheduled the work session, we were going to pick one of those other dates that's blank and schedule it where we know we're probably not going to get all of the members we want. So we may have to just go do a little traveling show and go to all the committees and just reiterate the.
do you want to know which of those dates don't work for us?
Yeah, I thought she asked you guys. That's what she came up with. She didn't ask you?
No.
Oh, I thought they were all three, you guys, staff, and then other meetings. She didn't request that from you guys?
I think I just heard something about we're going to pick a date and whoever showed up, showed
Did
up.
you guys get asked about dates?
Oh, no, then tell me what dates don't, then that's good. Tell me what dates don't work.
You forgot me?
No, I thought she said she was asking council and me and then what other dates were meetings.
So I can't do October 24th.
Okay.
November 8th
What
or
are we
14th.
talking about?
The rest are fine. So this calendar,
The liaison.
they were gonna pick a different day besides what we picked for the workshop to do that full, all the committee get together.
Okay.
So if there's any days there that don't work,
So I'm thinking, well, what other dates? Does anyone else have any out of town dates, hunting or vacation or anything?
Third week of October, I might be gone for, well, no, I'll be just a long weekend.
So I might,
We doing one thing where everybody comes?
yeah. We're going to provide food, go over the thing and have the liaisons introduce their different committees and who the people are so that everyone kind of sees who's working on city stuff and then feed them, go over the flow chart of how council gives directives. The liaison takes it to the committee. They brings back what the committee's chewing on. Council says yay or nay in the cycle.
You guys could probably pick a date and I'm pretty sure I can make it unless it's just one specific Monday. Where we at?
What about November 9th?
Oh,
works for me.
I'm thinking middle of the week. If we do it on a Friday, we're going to lose people that have plans.
Is this for liaison and,
Meeting the committees and going through the flow chart of how it works,
okay,
right?
we're going to lose 2 council positions at December 31st.
Yeah.
Would it behoove our council to wait until
I think
positions are filled?
no, because I think the majority of the committees will stay the same. It will just be the 2 counselors that we need to bring up to speed. If they're different, they could be the same and one new.
Right.
Losing two seats, we may
Okay.
not lose 2 counselors.
Yeah.
I could start a write-in campaign and still be sitting here, you know?
I was just asking.
I think it's probably better if we just do it and then bring them up to speed because we have been, I mean, it got postponed because of COVID and it's just.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think
What about-
it's more for them than it is for us.
And just kind of
I understand.
acknowledge that they do all this footwork as volunteers. I mean, you guys are also volunteers, but like the committees, I think they don't really get acknowledged hardly at all by the council as a whole.
And the
Say, thank you for coming and let's feed you and kind of a
liaisons next term will probably, it could change too, so.
totally someone different.
Right.
So what do you guys think about November 9th, the Wednesday?
Works for me.
Okay.
For me,
I'm going to either try for, depending, I might try Rose Avenue. It'll seat more. If Toby will let me bring in like pizza and whatever and clean up after ourselves, or it'll be Scout Cabin.
Are we allowed to do that?
For them,
Are we allowed to use that building for that purpose?
yeah, they're not allowed to provide services to people under 65 as their program services.
60.
Oh, 60, sorry, 60. They can't invite someone for lunch that they provide or for foot care or for health assessment for people under 60. But they only got like
3 more years.
3 years to go.
Yeah.
Toby says it's going by way faster than she thought it would. So I'll try. Scout cabin's always a nice spot too. So either way, it benefits the seniors if we rent one or the other.
Okay, good.
But I'll work on November 9th for the liaison dinner.
Okay. Anything else? Action item summary.
Okay, here we go. So I have that we're going to schedule Johanna and the Verge group to a work session to go over the new state bias reporting system and just have her update us on the changes in law and all of that and invite the public as well. We will schedule and post the October 12th work session on alleys, and staff will be bringing you guys the data of the current inventory of alleys and condition and who's using what. Notify Spencer Kroll and William Hart that they've been appointed to the Parks Committee. Order the 3 dog waste stations. Mark it in the calendar and probably change the paperwork now for the relocation of the Fishhawk e-cyclery for the new lease. Bring back to Parks Committee future pavilion idea. Notify the Intercultural Society via the letter that we've chose to exit the agreement. Fix the timer in the play shed and schedule the November 9th liaison council committee dinner. Did I miss anything?
Can you bring back an update on Louisiana engineering?
Yeah.
I don't know, we talked about this in person, the poo bag up at the cemetery. You said you might have had an extra one.
Oh yeah, I can put that dog waste bags up there. Anything else?
And can you get an update on that water leak up above my place?
Well, yeah, but I'll do that just personally with you and not with the council.
Well, it's not my water leak.
No, I know, but it's not something the council as a whole has inquired about, but I'll get back to you on what I find out with that.
Oh, okay.
You did visit me and I fashioned the work order to check it based on your,
It was just a guess, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Been running for, say, a long time.
yeah.
Okay, anything else? If not, I'll adjourn the meeting at 9:05 PM. Meeting adjourned.
That wasn't too